Chapter 5 of the Pokemon Creepypasta Pokemon Dark Version. After a few days of remaining stable in front of the device in her room, Valerie was deemed safe enough to have visitors. Ted rushed to see her upon hearing the news, could only gaze upon her in terror as he realized she was mentally gone. There was no way his friend could return to a normal life. Valerie seemed to not even notice he was there. The pendant was all she could focus on. Ted was hoping to at least talk to her, but he quickly left after seeing the only thing left of Valerie was a breathing body. For days, Ted searched through the last remaining copy of Pokemon Dark Version to find any clues or answers to his questions about the game. The severe trauma stemming from the loss of his 3 closest friends was consuming him slowly. The last thing he wanted to do was fall victim to the game as well, but he felt it was up to him to beat it. He played through the game, struggling to ignore eerie glitches and encounters with undead trainers. At one point, he came across a dead trainer named Keith, who asked Ted why he didn't save him. This terrified Ted, but he tried his best to shake it off and focus on completing the game, as the dead sprite of Keith followed his everywhere he went. With all his attention devoted to the cursed game, Ted failed to realize he was slowly slipping into a state of insanity. As he made his way to collecting all Pokemon one by one, he began to hear the call of Keith's distant voice. It chanted, "Finish the quest. You will see me in the end." An unbearably high-pitched frequency rang out from the Game Boy, causing Ted to drop it. He let out a sigh of relief as he saw the game was still running. The sound was so intense it had damaged the speaker, which was now broken. Ted's ears ached from the game's shriek, but he didn't think much of it as he played on, almost done. All 151 Pokemon were available in this game. All he had to do was find and catch them. But as the hours dragged by, he began to experience a minor headache, which grew stronger until Ted realized he had a migraine. He stopped playing the game to take a few aspirin, which did nothing to soothe the pain. At this point, Ted had about 10 or 15 Pokemon left to collect. He struggled to ignore his pounding head as he came closer and closer to victory, but it came to his attention the pain was quickly growing worse. As the remaining Pokemon came down to the single digits, his head felt as though it were going to explode. It was starting to win his attention over the game. He knew he couldn't stop with as close as he was. Ted's vision began to blur as he came to needing only 3 more Pokemon. After collecting the final 3 and returning to Celadon City to obtain his diploma, the prize for collecting all Pokemon, Ted felt a sense of pressure and anxiety lifted from his shoulders, but his head trauma was becoming unbearable. Completing and saving the game, he put it down at last to have a fizzy soda. This usually helped his head feel better. He reached for a Coca-Cola in the fridge and raised it to his lips, but noticed at the last second that the game screen was flickering rapidly. Ted put the soda on the kitchen counter and walked over to the coffee table he had left the Game Boy on. Picking it up, the screen went black as it came close to his face. Then it showed a tombstone with his name engraved into it, along with the words, "Collected all 151 Pokemon," and an emblem of a Pokeball. Ghost Pokemon swirled around the grave, cackling evilly. Ted gasped and dropped the Game Boy. He would have been worried had his head not been hurting so badly. He was desperate to make the pain stop, growing even more insane as he tried anything to dull it. Eventually, around 3:20 p.m., Ted heard Keith's voice from outside his apartment saying, "Follow me, and your pain will be no more." Ted stumbled out of his apartment, watching in disbelief as Keith led him down a sidewalk. He struggled to keep up as his dead friend ran, feeling weak from his head trauma. Ted could see dozens of cars rushing by on the busy streets, but could only hear an overbearing ringing sound. This worsened the pain, causing him to fall to his knees and cry out in agony. "Just a bit further, you can make it." Keith's voice broke through the ringing. Ted used all his willpower to rise to his feet again and follow after the voice. He could no longer see Keith, but ran after him, which led him to a bridge where he found Keith standing atop the railing. "What are you doing?" Ted asked, horrified as he found his friend there, an eerie smile plastered to his face.
"Do as I do, and all your pain will fade with the wind."
Ted screamed as his friend let his body fall over the edge, and he ran up to the railing to watch him fall to the concrete hundreds of feet below. His body vanished, but the voice whirled around his head, encouraging to imitate his friend. Ted looked around, wondering what to do as the pain tortured him. He bit his lip, trying to think of any other way out of this hell. After a few moments, he used the last of his strength to climb the railing and leap into the air. A day after Ted's suicide, Erica was found in a forest about 48 miles from her home. She was sitting in a cave, completely motionless and unresponsive to any external stimuli, barely breathing. She was rushed to a hospital by helicopter, where she spent the rest of her days connected to machines keeping her alive. So that was how it all came to end, with only one copy of the mysterious game remaining. Keith, dead from extreme exhaustion. Erica, alive but brain dead. Valerie, also alive but completely insane and under Hypno's control. And Ted, dead from a bizarre suicide. That is the story.